This is the Rush Hour on Triple M with Joey and Bill, and for the first time this year, it's time for Damo's recovery.
Wrapping up the pre-season.
We get Purple in here and discuss footy.
This is Damo's recovery session. When you need a tool, call Coates Hire on 13 15 52.
He's the best in the business. Thanks to Coates Hire. Damo, welcome.
Good to have Coates Hire back too,
Yeah,
isn't it,
exactly.
Bill, for this segment?
Well, they've said we want Damo. We love Damo. He's the best, and you're going to give us the best.
Are we? That's the plan.
Where do we start? We'll go. We'll go
start
a bit
seriously,
serious.
Bill.
Yeah,
We like to lighten it up on this program, don't we? But it is a serious issue and period now for obviously everyone beyond the AFL world. But when the AFL launched its season yesterday with its own clubs and had all the CEOs and presidents and captains in, and 95% of the discussion yesterday behind those closed doors was relating to the coronavirus outbreak, and it's a weird situation. Everyone is actually on the same page with it. They often fight at this day and they have blues and whatnot, but everyone came out of those gatherings yesterday knowing that there's and this is just a footy perspective, obviously, Joey. It's more important the health and well-being of people. But from a footy perspective, which is why we're talking today on this show, it's going to be a very difficult year. What they are, I suppose, comforted by is the fact that the AFL, is probably as well prepared as any industry and business to cope with what it's about to be hit with. And what it's about to be hit with is quite dramatic. I think as soon as round 2 is when these spectator-less stadiums are potentially in play.
No fans at the ground.
Yeah, that was canvassed widely and thoroughly yesterday by the AFL with the clubs, and even speaking to people beyond those conversations, there's a preparedness now to go into it that early. And you just listen to what Daniel Andrews, and I know this is obviously a national program, Bill, but Daniel Andrews, the Victorian Premier yesterday, was as graphic as anyone's been in a political sense, when it's a when now, not an if. This becomes a pandemic. I do hear what he says yesterday, and then factor in the other comment he made about please come to the Grand Prix en masse on Saturday. But we'll just park that scepticism to the side. He's clearly going to have the weekend allowing people to mass gather. The AFL, I think, will run off that into round 1, with obviously the Thursday night game being the starting point to that season. And then I reckon from round 2 onwards, it's just an unknown.
So my follow-up question then, Damo, if it's looking inevitable that we're going to have games without crowds, right, because we believe it's precautionary, is it inevitable that this coronavirus could sweep through our football club and players are going to have to be quarantined? And then what happens to a game on a weekend if you've sent 15, 20 of your players into quarantine?
Yeah.
Is there been talk about what happens to that team if they can't field a side?
There has been. That's obviously an extreme possibility, but it's one that was discussed yesterday. And the best I can answer that one, Joey, and I did ask this question, they will play the game of football somehow. And if that means there's top-up players, if that means that they're 18-year-old who they had no intention of playing this year, that they will somehow get a game of football played.
For that round, could they postpone a game potentially?
That's a possibility.
Right.
Yeah, there's 198 games in the course of a season these days, with 18 teams playing 22 matches. So there is a commitment to have 198 games of home and away football played, whether that be at the time it's currently scheduled, whether it be at a later date, whether it be with players who are not listed as we speak. But
which they've done with China, the China game already.
They've moved that back already.
They've postponed that. So I tell you who'd love it, the broadcasters. Because if fans aren't going to the games,
everyone's sitting at home.
Everyone's sitting at home watching.
It causes a drama for them, though, doesn't it, from an atmospheric perspective?
Yeah.
I mean, you hear the players already saying, well, how do we get motivated to go in? And when there's no crowd noise, others may benefit from that for other reasons that don't relate to the atmosphere and the aesthetics of the game. Goal kicking might not be as stressful for them. I don't know, but all these scenarios are now being played out, and you might even have to. Well, the question has to be asked: are media allowed in the stadium as well? I mean, are they calling it off at TV themselves, which has been done in the Marsh series anyway?
Very interesting, isn't it?
It is, and how it impacts too. I mean, you mentioned, Joey, if there is an outbreak en masse at a particular club. I mean, the WA teams are the ones flying longest and most often, so they've got to be dealing with it in a different way to the other clubs as well. So there's just so many,
I think
there's so many scenarios at play.
Have even spoken about potentially wearing full-on suits. There's been some talk about that amongst clubs.
On the plane?
Well, imagine if they have to wear the protective suits like doctors would wear or something
on
like
the
that.
plane?
Potentially.
Well,
maybe.
Or when they play?
They've got to have some contingency plans. No, not to play. When they
have to
travel.
have their
But all I
sponsors
know
on.
is being at a football club, we know how quickly
Yeah.
viruses and things
Yeah.
can whip through a football club with gastro
Yeah.
and the flu. It sweeps pretty quick at a football club. So if there is one person, we had a bit of a scare with the Fremantle player yesterday, that just made me think, well, if it goes through a club and everyone's quarantined, you can't field a side.
No, I look, there is contingency in play that they're not going to broadcast and give us running commentary on, but they have fully threshed out if there are maybe 6 to 10 people at one particular club who are hit, how they get through that, and they've got a plan around it.
All right, Damo, you've been very serious, but we need fun Damo next because we've got to ask you about your media commitments. You're getting bigger and bigger. Also, the Marsh Cup, and who coaches Essendon?
Yes, and you're going to be with Rossi Line this year. I want to see how your relationship with Ross is going to
All
go.
right,
That'll
Damo,
be fun.
don't say anything. Yep, break.
Rush Hour, Triple M.